From the fun and partying of the weekend and now into strict business of this Monday the 3rd, November 2014, we bring you our first weekly fix of technology. I'm your host, Roger Bambino from Techjaja. As we all know, we are supposed to begin a new podcast. I'm here, a co-host of mine, Robert Sebunya. He's my co-host for today, and today our panel is a very good panel. I've been talking to them, and they seem to be very knowledgeable about the topics. And we have Tony Bossa from NITA. Please, Tony, tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, moderator. I'm called Bossa Tony, and I work with the National IT Authority. I'm the Web Solutions Architect, basically in charge of government online presence.
Cool. And those who want to find Tony on Twitter, he's at Bossa Tony. And the next person on our panel is James Wire, a blogger and ICT guru. Is it?
Guru, I don't know. But yeah, I'm an ICT consultant, though I dabble in a number of things. But blogging is one of those that I love a lot.
I kind of find it difficult even knowing what you exactly do, by the way. But let's leave that with different forum altogether. And today, our topics are going to be simple. We're going to be discussing Uganda's domain. Do we own it or we don't? We shall be discussing social media and why we have a lot of nude pictures leaking. And do we need a law for this? And last but not least, was the president Twitter account really hacked? All right. With that, I'll give the floor to Robert to introduce the team and what we're going to discuss. Talk to us about the domain. Do we own this domain or not? You can engage the team.
Well, I'm sure the history would tell whether we own it or we don't own it. And the veteran in the house will be able to tell us much more about that. I guess I'll pass it to James Wire.
I think in terms of ownership, we do own the domain. If you look at it from the historical perspective, where different countries were assigned top-level domains based on their country codes. So Uganda got the .ug as a country. So indeed, the country does own it. However, who administers it is the issue. Yeah, so the administration is where that is in the hands of a private player. I think the private player has been doing a good job over the years. Pretty much when one compares with what the status was regarding other African countries that inherited their top-level domains at the same time. Do I need to go to a bit of history on how that happened?
Yes, please.
Great. When the internet was beginning to take shape, that was in the late 80s and early 90s, they decided to create demarcations for different countries, which were called country code top-level domains, so that we don't all look at .com and .net and .org for domains. So that's where you get .ug for Uganda, .ke for Kenya, .rw for Rwanda, .za for South Africa, and many others. Now, there were many countries that never had the technical competence by then to manage their top-level domains. So some organizations offered to volunteer and do that on our behalf. Uganda was helped by NSRC, the Network Startup Resource Center, which is an American organization. The same with Kenya, Tanzania, and a couple of other African countries. Now, as and when capacity came up in the different countries, the NSRC would hand over to someone they found competent. In Uganda, we were lucky by then, Charles Musisi, brilliant, young, and fired-up engineer, entrepreneur, came up and took the bulls by the horns. In Kenya, you had the likes of Ochodo. Tanzania, it was Bill Sangiwa, and a couple of others all over the continent. So, over the years, Kenya, Ochodo did a very bad job. At one point, even .ke was going off. So scary. If .ug went off today, even for just 2 days like this, you don't want to imagine, not only government, even private companies, lost money will be way beyond. So the fact that he has held ship under initially Uganda Online, now it's I3C, which is the company managing the administration, they have been able to technically manage it competently well.
So why the hula baloo? Why are the MPs all over this all of a sudden? Why now anyway?
One of the reasons I did write a blog post about it on my blog.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And those who want to read the blog post, please can go to newvision.com.
WIreGems.com will redirect them.
Oh, it's the same. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
WIreGems.com. You find the blog. The reason I came up with that blog post was because I had seen a lot of misrepresentation in the parliament. And many times MPs, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes they're driven by emotion as opposed to looking at things with sober minds. Okay? People were like, oh, what if a terrorist came and did this? I mean, there were lots of alarmist statements being put across.
That is good. Now we have Tony from NITA here. What if a terrorist? You can start from there. What if a terrorist comes and does something, maybe misuses our domain?
Well, a couple of Nigerians.
The question of what if a terrorist comes to hit the Uganda top level domain, actually, a lot has been going around, especially on the online media, even in the print, and on many radio stations, about the ownership and management of the .ug CCTLD. But rather, government is looking at it in a different angle. The question is not who is managing the domain right now. The issue is, are there regulations that whoever will be managing the domain is at least governed by some regulations on how to manage the domain. So that's what government is up to. Even in other sectors, government usually fronts first the regulations. You know, at one time you need to forgive how government at times do the work, because technology seems to be resolving at a very high rate.
Right, yes.
Yes, so we are trying to catch up with technology by coming up with the regulations here and there.
Isn't it safe to have a different government body managing government resources? Because it's funny to see a private firm managing a government resource.
That's not how government is run.
Okay.
Yes, even if you are setting up an institution or an agency of a government, it has to be instituted by an act of parliament. Take, for example, NITA was instituted. It did not just happen by the blue. There is a law that puts National IT Authority into place. There is a law that puts UCC into place.
Yes.
So even that government organ that you are thinking of that will come up to manage the domain has to be regulated. There must be a backing of the law for it to stand. So that's where government has come in. It's at the advanced stages of setting up a regulation that will govern or give guidance on how the CCTLD for Uganda will be managed.
But this seems to be more in NITA's domain. Can't NITA take on this? Because it's ICT for crying out loud.
The Act of Parliament that saw NITA coming into place is very clear. Our roles, our responsibilities are very clear. Now, when you talk about IT, IT becomes broader by the day. If I may give you a simple example, a few years back when IT phenomena came to Uganda, it was only Makerere University which was offering disciplines in IT. There were very few, I think there were only two. You could either do a bachelor's in IT or a bachelor's in computer science. Today they have a wide array. So it may not, as of now, when you look at the law, we may not necessarily manage the .ug domain, because according to the law, it's not in our it's not in the mandate of NITA to manage the .ug domain. But once the law is enhanced, it will give the mandate to NITA to fully, I'm not saying it's going to give the mandate to NITA, but what I'm saying, according to how the law will be formulated, it will guide on who will manage the domain. But one thing I'll let you know is at least the second level, top level domain of the .go.ug, I want you to get this one very clearly.
Yeah.
There is the primary CCTLD, which is .ug.
Yes.
But now the .go.ug, that is purely set aside for government.
All right.
Yes.
So it means all government parastatals will change to .go.ug.
No, currently
current
most
domains.
of them are onto that domain, and the National IT Authority has come up with the guidelines that are going to govern all online presence of government. Here I'm talking about websites mostly, on how they should choose their domain names.
Start with UCC because they use .co.ug.
Yes, how about that? Well, what about in the reconstitution? Will NITA be able to involve stakeholders like the community, developer community, or people who use these services on a daily basis? Because I can expect you to deal directly with the different stakeholders.
Actually, it's not the National IT Authority that is in charge of coming up with the policy to govern the .ug/ccTLD. It is the Ministry of ICT. So the Ministry of ICT is at advanced stages, as I've already said, with the formulation of a regulation, a policy document that will govern the administration of the top-level domain for Uganda. Now, the way they have structured, I don't know whether you've seen a copy, but I have a copy here with me, but it's also available at, I think it's on the website online, for Ministry of ICT. You can go and look at it. They clearly state the functions of every stakeholder involved in this .ug top-level domain. There is government agencies like National IT Authority, like the Uganda UCC is there, the ministry itself. Then there are private companies. There'll also be the academia, because internet is very key as regards academia these days. So all stakeholders will be brought on board, and all their roles are all defined so well in that document. If you get time, you can look at it and know who will be in charge, who will be tasked with what. Yeah.
All right. The last question is, when I looked around the ICANN website, ICANN still considers Uganda Online as the organization or the company that runs at the .ug domain, TLD. And from the look of things, in Uganda, it's run by I3C, which has existed in 3 different stages. It was once called Computer Frontiers International, CFI, and now Infinity Computers. What do you think about that?
That takes me to one of the reasons why actually I am one of those that are pro-change. For us to entirely leave this resource in the hands of a private entity does not augur well with a country whose ICT systems are growing, okay? Because we have seen private entities collapse, big ones. You remember Enron, which was one of the largest energy companies in the world, probably number 2 or number 1. They collapsed like a pack of cards in just a span of 2 weeks. And it's no more today. So what would happen in a scenario where I3C folds? We need to think, I'm not trying to wish them bad, no. But these are scenarios. We are talking of a national resource.
True.
It's like the dam we have in Jinja today. Yeah. What happens if the dam at Owen Falls breaks down? These are serious things to think about. That's why we have a lot of security there. So it's the same thing here, and that's why I believe it is important that we address this issue head on.
All right. Oh, I know we can take the whole day. You want to say something last?
Okay.
30 minutes, 30
when
seconds.
It comes to the issues of .ccTLD in relation to the current registrar, one thing should be clearly understood, that we cannot underestimate the efforts and the effort that has been done so far in that direction. I3C, they have really done a good job in maintaining the registry for all these years that really government has been trying to come up with the laws or the regulations that are going to govern it. So we cannot underestimate his contribution towards the development of the industry. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Tony, and thanks you, Jim. Thanks, James. And now, next, last weekend, I'm sure we all have smartphones here, and we got to look at interesting pictures, leaked images of our very own diva, Desire Luzinda. I know we all have comments to talk about that. I know we are having a lot of social media in Uganda. There's WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and things are flying around. So we had a law, something to do with nudity. I don't know, was that passed? What happened? Pornography or something close to that. Do we need a law to regulate this? Because it seems to be rampant. We saw Cindy, a musician, Zari also, her pictures leaked, sex tapes from university students, UCC. Do we need the government to come in to regulate such things, or we leave it to people have fun, let us send away, have sex tapes and enjoy ourselves? What do you think?
I think that justifies the work of the parliamentarians.
So you should have.
That's why we have a parliament in place.
Are we sure if we checked in the parliamentarians' iPads, we won't find funny
No,
things?
as to whether they break the law, that's another thing altogether. But that's the job, because society keeps evolving, and technology is one of those drivers of evolution in society. Let's look back. Initially, we used to have issues to do with when Matembe was still Minister of Integrity, Chimansulu. Yes. Guys would go to these places trying to see nude women on stage dancing. We moved from that level of going to look for them on stage and went to the site where people now go online and they start watching porn.
True.
Okay? Now, of course, most of the porn people are watching was for American actors, actresses, and things like that.
They want local content.
Now, it is local content. And unfortunately, this local content is being served by people either willingly or unwillingly. Because sometimes we hear that when a musician is about to launch a new album or whatever, they release some soft porn. So that they can get their attention, and then before you know it, their song is hitting.
Was this soft?
Okay, whatever. I haven't seen them, so I don't know. But the reality here is, it is a challenge, and it's coming as a result of people not fully understanding the effects of the technology that is in their hands. They do look at it and they don't know the details of what can happen, because sometimes even with a computer, even if you did something and you deleted it off that computer, I could come and do some background work on it and get that stuff which you deleted.
We should worry then for those who think we have deleted.
Okay. So people have to be careful, and I hope those who are listening can get to understand this. Don't think that because you are seated behind that computer, no one is seeing you, you can do all the nasty things you want to do. Someone could take control of your laptop or your PC or whatever remotely, and they will just change your life in just 1 second.
At the bigger, when I look at the whole thing, the bigger picture of it, a lot of nudity getting onto the web one of these days, it gets down to our society and the way they perceive the ICTs. I think we are running so fast to catch up with the rest of the world, especially to do with technology. And many people are forgetting our culture fabrics. Take, for instance, really, we find no reason why somebody could even think of taking such kind of pictures. Maybe our populace is not yet...
Oh, there is a reason as why they take them.
Maybe our society is not enlightened about the dangers of ICTs, because they only think about ICT as the only good thing that has ever happened in their lives. And many people have come to realize something to do with their confidentiality. They tend to forget that in ICT, confidentiality seems to go down, especially when you're not the most high-tech person around. There's no much of security. They forget that. There's no much of privacy. So people should, something that you do not want to see on the streets tomorrow, you don't need to do it when there is anybody looking at you or when there is somebody with any ICT gadget.
Robert, you've been quiet. You sound like an angel right now. Tell us, what do you think?
I think the ease with which people take the pictures is the ease with which people out there can be able to see their pictures. So the ICTs enable other people to easily get into your private life, because for starters, some of that data is backed up somewhere in the cloud where you don't know. Some of the apps are shady apps that people can hack on any day. Someone can use a tool and they're able to hack that. Or your partner, when you separate with them, like the recent issue, can be able to expose those images when you share them with them. So I think the ICTs have also eased the way other people can get into your private life.
True.
But we also need, I think, to hype on our regulations. Yes, we need like the privacy.
Is NITA doing anything? Is NITA doing anything?
Yes, I don't know why people keep pointing at NITA, but you need to know for how long it has been in
Twitter.
place.
Other countries are blocking these social media.
You need to know for how long NITA has been in place and how many regulations NITA is shining out every other day. Okay. So NITA is up the task every day. We are working on a number of issues. As I told you, technology seems to be running faster than government is moving.
James seems to be burning with something.
Yeah, no, I think we need some regulation of sorts.
Regulate on what exactly? Because I'm feeling the social media, the morals. What are we regulating?
No, because if, for example, someone took their nude pics in such a closed room,
yeah,
and then you,
closed room, apparently,
you out of your own selfish desires, you get these pics that this person took in a closed room and intentionally transmit them to the rest of the world without their permission. I think there is some element of the law you have broken in that case, especially if we had a data privacy law. Unfortunately, we don't have it, but I understand it's in the offing very soon. So these are some of the things we need to start thinking about seriously. Because if she had gone to a veranda and done her thing when the whole world is seeing, then we would say, fine, she wanted everyone to know. So we need some sort of legislation to be able to handle some of these.
Okay, on the same topic, previous Sunday, we have the presidential in charge of communication, Sarah Kajingo, goes on to Twitter, starts talking about how the president's account has been hacked. Do you think this was an inside job, or do you think it was really hacked? Because some people are really suspicious. Was this true, or is it just playing politics? Apparently, Joseph Owino was also taken to prison for allegedly hacking the president's account. And if you read further, you get to know that somehow this Joseph Owino, I think, must be some private person. I'm yet to meet him, by the way. Has access to the president's Twitter account. How come can't the State House can the president manage his own Twitter account? What is happening in Uganda, really?
Well, I don't think the president's Twitter account was hacked per se. I think hacking is someone taking illegally possession of something. And for an official Twitter account like the president's account, it's one of the few official Twitter accounts we have in Uganda. They would suspend it and Twitter would put it down. It's one of the few accounts that they can put down in case of anything. So I don't think the president's official Twitter account was hacked. It probably was miscommunication by someone.
So it reached someone had to go to jail for a night. So
that's politics. I don't really seem to understand.
James, maybe you have something to say.
I think it's a pity, but this young girl, Sarah Kajingo, I'm sorry, but she. I think I don't even know where to start from.
Please take your time.
Break it down.
Break it down.
I think you all know that in many organizations, private and public, there is what they call corporate cannibalism. In the tier, in the structure of the organization, people are fighting each other in order to please their bosses. That's the truth.
True.
And she was one of those fighting. We've seen the stories.
The boss was in Rome, for crying out loud, meeting the Pope.
It didn't start today.
Oh, okay.
There's been a trail. I've been following their social media fights internally. I understand probably she's the one who set up the idea of let's go social media from Museveni and all that. But again, while I empathize with the fact that she came up with such a good idea, and it was very nice because having him online and engaging is very good. But now, probably for her to try and think that she will own that as an individual was the mistake she made. Okay? Then also the other challenge which came in is that it's common in government. Whenever something becomes selling, it becomes a hot cake, everyone wants to take a piece of it. So when the social media presence of Museveni became an issue, everyone now wanted to be a part of that. I actually wrote an article advising Museveni on my blog, WIzHats.com, how he should be able to take on some of these engagements in the future. Because to just allow someone to stand up, then she goes and looks for someone else and says, Tony, register for me a Twitter account for Museveni. Hey, James, come and do for me this website. That is not the way to handle such resources. Okay? There has to be a strategic approach.
And her decision to take Joseph to prison.
Joseph didn't hack. That's the truth.
He had.
I know that. He didn't hack. He has simply been doing Bulungi 1C.
So
helping.
He's not even paid a penny for this.
He's not even paid a shilling for that.
Okay.
I understand people wanted even to get 400 million from Museveni for that.
Okay.
He was just helping out. And because of the fact that he was helping out and Kajingo's little understanding of ICT, I'm sorry to say this, but she didn't understand these things very much. So she just became suspicious and became superstitious, actually, not suspicious, but superstitious, and said, this guy has hacked it. But he didn't hack
the IGP.
And unfortunately, she revived memories of Panda Gari among some of us. True. While I was growing up, I see how army men would just come and arrest people, put you in a car and take you away. That's what she did for this young man, Joseph. Came with armed guys, bundled him up and took him away. I'm sorry, but if Kajingo suffers the same fate, I would not pity her at all.
So the president's reaction, do you think it was because the president apparently called her, okay, let me quote him, if indeed the hacking was a State House inside job, that is Kajingo, sorry. President said, I'm in full control of my account. No hacker is in possession of it. Forgive Sarah Kajingo for misinforming you.
I don't want to personally comment on that. I don't know how factual it is. But my take on the whole thing about the hacking of the president's Twitter page, Sarah Kajingo and Eto, my take on this is, as the authority that manages or regulates ICT, I don't want just only to focus on one Twitter account. Tomorrow it might be another Twitter account of another government personality. The other date might be another one. So how do we guard against that happening again? We have come up with guidelines, social media guidelines that guide how do you manage, because all of us know the big people, they may not be in possession to handle their handles at all the times.
Mbabazi
at time
apparently does.
Huh?
Mbabazi does.
I don't know whether you have the facts right.
I have the facts right.
Okay, fine. Maybe he handles, but now you can't compare Mbabazi to the president. The level of engagement and how busy. Take, for example, the person everyone looks up as an IT survey. We talk, like in Africa, we talk about Uhuru, we talk about Jonathan. In US, we talk about Obama. But Obama has 50 full-time staff just to manage his social media presence. So at times you may not be able to do it yourself, but we have set up guidelines, social media guidelines, to guide on how to manage the social media presence of a public personality. So how do you manage a personality's page? How do you manage an organizational social media platforms? So we have set up all that to guide the government agencies and personalities to how do we separate that now you are posting this as you or as a portfolio you hold. So all that is contained in there, and that document is readily available on the NITA website. Another thing that you have to look up here is we have the National Security Framework. So if there is any breach of security, we have also come up with guidelines on how to handle such kind of issues, especially when it comes to public figures and organizational social media or websites. So we have a framework which guides on how we manage that, and we have a mechanism, because NITA has set up the national SAT to thwart all sorts of insecurities that can come up, that can befall any government online presence or system.
All right, I think that's all. Anything you want to conclude with, James, in any of the topics we've discussed? Anything?
Personally, I think I would love to see a scenario where our government learns how to trust the civil society. They need to start engaging us a lot more. Many times you hear of things, oh, we've done this. They simply call you to sit and eat a meal that they have prepared. Yet, when you sit down to eat that meal, you find that it is missing so many things. The salt is not enough. There's no sugar here. There's nothing. There are lots of things which are handled poorly simply because most of the work and engagement has been internal, and they come out at the end of it all. So that engagement is necessary. The embarrassment State House has gone through as a result of the social media issues is as a result of not wanting, either intentionally or unintentionally, to handle things in a professional, systematic manner. We have so many social media experts, professionals in this country, who could have guided State House to be able to undertake a proper presence online. Also, the fact that NITA has the necessary guidelines in place. This entity, by simply contracting someone to do that, they could have avoided some of these things. Now, all their dirty linen has been washed in the public, and it's a subject of the tabloids lately. There's a lieutenant, a lady I had never heard of. Yeah. Now her face is always in the papers. You know, it's a pity. That's all
right, that's the ever enticing blogger, ICT solutions guru, James Wire. You can find him on Twitter at BWireJames. He has a website at WireJames. Oh, thank you, at WireJames. He has a blog called wirejames.com. Yes. And also from NITA UG, we have Tony Bossa. Thanks for coming. He's a web solutions architect. Yes, at NITA. If you want to follow him on Twitter, you'll find him at Bossa Tony, BBN in that. And my co-host has been Robert Sebunya, also at Techjaja. And I'm Roger Bambino, Editor-in-Chief at Techjaja. Thank you for listening to our very first podcast. And thank you for coming, panelists.
Thank you.
All right, bye.